Can you tell us about forgiveness? Because this is a skill. This is not just, again, something that you kind of just do quickly. Has to have some intelligence to it and some thought to it. So what's your forgiveness exercise?
Well, as spiritual people, we're supposed to be loving and kind and so forth. One of the most healing uses of love, healing applications of love, would be forgiveness. There's also nurturing and praise and things like that. But forgiveness is often essentially for healing emotions, healing the body. One can forgive our pancreas for being diabetic and see if that promotes healing, and it does. Or forgive our joints for hurting because they're getting a little old and creaky.
You mean forgive certain body parts?
You can.
Oh, wow.
But most time forgiveness is about forgiving people that have harmed us, etc. But you can forgive a lot of things besides just other people. But it is a skill, and it's not a one-step process. A lot of people have trouble forgiving because, all these horrible things occur, and and I felt this, and I did this, and then they go on and make it very complex. The issue is complex, so the technique has to match the complexity of the problem. And first of all, there's a terrible misunderstanding that forgiveness means, you just forget it. We can't do that. One friend says, to forgive is divine, to forget is stupid, because a lot of people out there are still going to be coming after you. But forgiveness involves the awareness that when we forgive, that doesn't mean people are off the hook. It doesn't mean that we are abandoning the cause of justice. We are simply withdrawing our resentment. We have to be aware that our continued anger about this person or this group leaves a psychic line open to their malice or their nastiness. And we're going to have a continuous obscene phone call coming as long as our attention is on them. Our attention and anger keeps us plugged into angry people, people that aren't our friends. So we want to be able to cut that off. And the reason why we forgive is to help ourselves. Justice will be done by other people, divine order, whatever. It may take a while, but they'll do it well. We just don't worry about that. Forgiveness is done to help ourselves feel better, to be more whole, to restore our energy for more constructive application. And because the anger drags us down, we're doing forgiveness to help ourselves to get rid of the burden of resentment, get rid of the weight of the sense of the world owes us something, that person owes us something. And there actually are people who make their well-being and joy hostage to their worst enemy forgiving them. I tell them, it ain't going to happen. Give it up. And you forgive them. That's going to be your gift to them. And you can pray that God will eventually turn their mind and heart to more loving, constant things. So the first step is to appreciate that you do this for yourself. And they're not off the hook. They're still obligated to take care of their life and amend their thoughts and feelings. Other thing is, forgiveness is done one step at a time. It may take 50 steps when things are really bad. I tell people, forgiveness is not achieved quickly if the problem is serious. But you can for a moment. It's like learning to quit smoking. Sometimes we'll say, I won't smoke until 8:30 a.m. You set a certain hour you carve out. I will not smoke between 10 and noon. You punch holes in the whole problem. So you say, I'm going to declare truce on this person or this situation. I'm going to declare truce. I'm not going to start hating them until 10 a.m. 9:30.
9.
We start to just declare truce. I'm too busy. I can't be bothering with this all the time. I've got things to do, like kids to take care of, people to see. I'm just declare truce during those hours. And you begin to expand that, the notion, I'm not giving up on this, I'm just declaring truce. Then later on, you can have truce all day long. And the notion, you need to do some self-repair before you're really ready to forgive them. But eventually you begin to realize, no, my life is too valuable to waste on this hatred. I have things to do, things to enjoy that are being compromised by my continuous hatred over here. So you give yourself more motivation to forgive, to free yourself from this burden of anger. So it becomes easier. After a period of time, you realize that person is pathetic. They just really are missing out on life. They think everyone's their enemy. They think that Anger makes them strong. No, it makes them like a bully. It makes them uncivilized. It doesn't make them strong. It's not a virtue. All this rationalized stuff we've heard about anger being good for you is bunk. What makes you strong is your love of goodness, your devotion, your steadfastness, your determination to do good things. It's not anger that makes you strong. It just embarrasses you. So eventually you get to the point where you see them as pathetic, misinformed, self-absorbed, little schoolyard bullies that have grown up and never changed. Pathetic. And then you begin to bless them. Bless them in the sense that may the light of God enter their mind to enlighten them. May the love and peace of God be in their heart so that they can eventually see the right way for them. Begin to recognize their wrong behavior, their wrong thinking, the harm they've done. That will stop them hating me. That will help them, certainly help me in that I'm beginning to turn off their anger to me. It's still there. So forgiveness comes in an evolutionary way in various steps. Ultimately you want to get to the point where from your soul, in your heart, you forgive them. You can't just say forgive them, go away. It has to be from a soul, heartfelt feeling of compassion for them that's free of any vindication, free of any accusations, with a full awareness. If they've misbehaved very badly, they'll have to be accountable for it. They'll have to make amends for it. They'll have to learn to change. They're not off the hook until they change. It's not true that when you take your burdens to God, God just forgives you. God forgives your behavior, but you're not forgiven your need to learn, to be a better person, and to stop doing the bad things you've been doing. That's a divine law at work, and so you can trust that. You can release people to divine law and be comfortable that you've done your duty. And that every day thereafter, you can lay your head on the pillow at night without the lust for vengeance or the anger that used to consume you.
What if it's a family member that you see every day that hooks into your warehouse of toxicity and you're ping-ponging back and forth? You just have to be more vigilant than, I guess, with everything, right?
With people you see frequently, you have to do a somewhat additional process, which would be that you imagine that you have an imaginary meeting in your mind, and you honestly forgive them. You go through a process that in Hawaiian is called the ho'opono. It's a kahuna exercise where you bring them to yourself and you forgive them. You ask permission. Can I forgive you? Because you've done some bad things. I want to ask your forgiveness. May I forgive you? And I know there are problems here that go between us, but I want to end this. And may I forgive you? And you usually get a sense you can. Then you imagine that divine light, not your personality, divine light and love is flowing through you from above your head, down to your heart, and out to them. And you really imagine the flow going. And when I've done this with people, I have one person that he was a half hour on the couch doing this. You could just sense the dynamic energy just boiling in the room. He finally cuts off. It can be repeated, of course. And he was kind of a little disoriented and hard, problem with balance. It was such a dynamic energy change. But he was flushing his anger out to his mother. And with the flushing process of the divine light and love coming through him to the enemy, remove the tentacles where he stopped being reactive to her. After that, he saw her basically as a soul who was doing pathetic, childish things, being nasty, but he didn't react to it anymore. It's like she was still saying the old things, but it didn't plug into his anger that was flushed away. And thereafter, he saw her as just a very sick person, very dysfunctional, nothing he could do about it, and he no longer owed her anything. He would be very polite, but it became much more impersonal after that. So that's a step that you have to read up on that, but that's a step that can be done to really deal with a key individual that's been very, very damaging to you. One also has to include some comment on self-forgiveness. Sometimes our initial reaction to and persistent reaction to something has been really serious, and after we grow up, we may be growing up at the age 50, mind you, we need to practice self-forgiveness in the sense that after we get more understanding, realize, God, we really behaved badly. We were provoked, of course, but we shouldn't have gone overboard and said those things and done those things. So forgiveness is not complete until we forgive ourselves for our own stupid behavior that we didn't realize was stupid at the time, but now we see has been stupid. And forgive ourselves in the sense that in the form of, I'm truly sorry I did this. I really know better now. I see the light about how I should handle myself from here on. And I commit myself to being a kinder, gentler person than I was back then. And really mean it. And again, it must be a heartfelt feeling where we really feel it in our heart. This is sincerely what we want to do. We don't want to return to the years past when we were buffoonish and ridiculous and petty and so forth. This is demeaning to us. We never want to behave that way again. We may be provoked, but we don't want to behave that bad. And so we forgive ourselves with the awareness that this makes more room in our heart and mind for true compassion, for true empathy, and a conviction that this is how we want to be the rest of our life. This is how we're going to treat people the rest of our life. So self-forgiveness winds all that stuff together. It's a complex thing that involves thoughts, feelings, values, our sense of purpose in life, but most of all, our deep self-respect for how God designed us to be and think and act. So that's self-forgiveness.
One question. There are people who try to transform themselves and they keep getting stuck. What is that?
When they get stuck, it means that there's some major belief system that doesn't want to go away. And,
which is usually a victim.
Yeah, and it's something deep down, it's like, we're not ready for that change yet. We've got more hating to do. We got more, or sometimes it means this: we're using our victimized state. We're using our grief. We're using our self-pity as a defense against change. People often try to justify. They have what I call bodyguards of their anger or grief or sadness, because they're so busy being a very successful victim. They're getting other people pampering them. They're getting secondary gain from the notion. Well, everyone knows now the reason why I'm such an incompetent person and so weak and sick all the time is I was victimized back there as my child. I had a bad childhood, and therefore I can't be like the rest of you. I have this terrible handicap. I can never be happy or have a good relationship. And of course, that's all bunk. But if they give up the belief system, they would give up their pampering. People would excuse them of all this. So it's that search for pampering, for secondary gain, for special attention, that they retain some of these bad beliefs. So some people have to confront the notion, do you want to be healthy and happy, or you want to be pampered?
And those are people that you're better off not enabling them and saying, oh, poor baby, but saying, you know, maybe take a look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're going to help them.
Right.
And to end this, what books are the prayer and the forgiveness in the psychic vandalism?
Oh dear, effective prayer is in, I think that's in our Life of Spirit series. I think that's in the techniques in volume 2 of Life of Spirit. There are 5 volumes in that set. It's sprinkled throughout other areas.
I read it in one of those books also.
I think it's Psychic Self-Destruction.
Psychic Self-Destruction is another great book. So all of these books just have wonderful tools to help you navigate through our extraordinary journey here, and thank you for making it so much easier for us.
Oh, glad to be here.
Thank you for sharing with us. Thanks.